charm, love, and plus you got a great big heart.
Hello, Rising Tide. I'm Lee Dyson with the Los Angeles chapter of the Tuesdays Together group. I want you guys to stop and think for a second. How much do you actually know about yourself and why you function the way you do? I mean, really know yourself on a deeper level. How sure are you that the way you think others perceive you is accurate? The way we project ourselves and the way we're perceived in the outside world is often quite different. If you were asked in this moment to lay it all out on paper and describe the key things that consistently motivate your thoughts and behavior, could you? If you were asked to give a detailed and nuanced description of the types of people that you know you gel with or that you don't get along with, could you do that? Conflict and disagreement, as well as deep connection and rewarding relationships, all occur in personal and business. They're often due to a clash or a gel of personality types. Oftentimes we say things like, I don't get along with that person. I don't know why, they just rubbed me the wrong way. Or this person and I had instant chemistry, it was like that. So sometimes we can be dismissive of the people and opportunities that we don't gel with, and we don't go any further to see if there's potential. But wouldn't it be great if there was a simple way to drill down further so that you could learn how to quickly understand and relate to everyone? Not only will this enhance your personal life by streamlining relationships and increasing communication and connectivity, but you can also have major impacts in your business and your ability to generate new clients and new opportunities. So before we begin, I feel like my appearance right now isn't quite reflecting the content or my personality. So I'm going to make a quick change. All right, much better. I feel lighter and happier. I even changed the hat. Big difference. Since this month's Rising Tide theme is personality types, I did some research on a few different programs that focus and help identify and categorize personality type. One more thing before we begin, I just want to quickly address a couple of the most common sources of resistance people have to delving into this and learning your personality type. You might say, I'm too complicated to just be reduced to a few letters. It can't embody all that I am. Yes, humans are unique with elaborate systems of behavior, but research has constantly shown that the basic fundamentals of how we behave are quite simple and rather predictable. Or maybe you are so shy or introverted that the idea of having your personality type known triggers your fear of being exposed. It can be scary to put yourself out there. I can relate. But I assure you that beneath your shyness or introversion is a person who deeply craves connection. Programs like these will break down barriers and allow you to more easily and safely find genuine connection that you'll find rewarding. We should all be committed to a journey of further self-awareness. Learning your personality type and strengths is just one of the many vehicles to do it. So if for some reason as you get into this you just don't feel comfortable, that's okay, but I highly encourage you to explore other alternatives and make the commitment and keep it. Make that commitment to yourself to learn and grow. So the first book I suggest is Type Talk. Its focus is specifically on the Briggs-Myers system, which uses type watching. Type Talk was written by a behavioral scientist with a background in psychology and co-written by a teacher. Type watching comes from Katharine Briggs and her daughter, Isabel Meyer-Briggs. The MBTI is the most well-known and used personality assessment tool with over 1.5 million assessments administered annually. It's based on Carl Jung's suggestion that human behavior is predictable and therefore classifiable. We live in a society of labels and name-calling. Most are seen as not positive or productive. Or they're used for advertising to make you feel that your life is not complete without purchasing X, Y, and Z or using this service or that service. But name calling is actually just a shortcut to communication by quickly identifying characteristics of a person to determine if association is worthwhile. It's very helpful and very useful. Type watching is the constructive alternative to the inevitability of name calling. The gift of type watching is the ability to manage yourself more effectively by understanding yourself more completely in any situation. It gives you the freedom to be in control of yourself instead of letting a situation control you. This is done by learning your personality type and learning how to easily identify the personality type of all others. Type watching is judgment-free. There is no good or bad types, only different types. It is a celebration of the fact that different people approach life differently. The Myers-Briggs test maps out your preferences so you can understand your baseline of operation. Of course, does environment, conditioning, and personal growth alter your base preferences? Yes, it does. But much like a left-handed person can use to learn their right hand for more activities, by default, they will always be left-handed. By being aware of your base preferences, it allows you to adapt and grow. As complex as humans are, you'll be surprised how accurate type watching is, using just 4 dimensions of human behavior taken from 16 different personality types. The 4 dimensions of preference alternatives are: number 1, the way people prefer to interact with the world. Number 2, the way people prefer to gather data. Number 3, the way people prefer to make decisions. And number 4, the way people prefer to orient their lives. This allows you to avoid confrontations by understanding and accommodating those differences between yourself and others so you can move forward together in a more constructive manner. It helps you to respect your uniqueness and focus the lens in which you view the world and view the people around you. I'll give you one example of how this immediately shifted things for me personally. As a DJ, I'm very passionate about music, and I used to get so frustrated and angry and personally offended by clients that they just don't get it. They were undercutting me, not wanting to pay my pricing. They didn't see the value. They wanted me to drop my pricing and be lower than what my standard or my values were. How dare they insult the essence of who I am? How can they not understand what I do is so important to what they want and what they need? Well, now I realize it's not personal at all. The lens in which they view the world is different than my lens. Therefore, dimensions of preference are maybe radically different than mine. Also, their sensory preference, visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, may be entirely different as well, but that's a whole nother topic and discussion for a whole nother book. So now, armed with this information, I'm able to analyze and get a sense of where they're coming from, so I can adjust the conversation and relay the information I still want to relay that's important to me through a framework that they will understand through their lens, and thus it becomes important to them. There are a variety of places you can take the test, but I strongly recommend that you pick a follow-up plan to really understand your personality type and other personality types. You can do the free test online, but I highly recommend getting a companion book like this one or this one, and here's a link to a bunch more. You can also go through the MBTI website, and there are referrals to find someone who is licensed locally to apply the test. Lastly, there is a website where you can take the test online, but then you also get a 1-hour assessment done by a professional through Skype or phone. It's only $150. I figured that was a small price to pay to gain a greater understanding of myself, to be more genuine and effective in business and personal life. So I coughed up the money. I won't go into details here, but I will say that it was a very positive experience and I felt it was worth the investment. The second book and personality assessment is called Strength Finders 2.0. Inspired by the late father of strength psychology, Donald Clifton, I'll start by repeating a question asked in the book. How accurate is the following statement for you? At work, I have the opportunity to do every day what I do best every day. Sadly, it doesn't ring true for a lot of people. The concept is inspired by tiring of living in a world that is revolved around fixing weakness and problems. So they created a language of the 34 most common talents and developed the Strength Finders assessment to help people identify and utilize their strengths in daily life. It seems so obvious that focusing on your strengths would be the most productive way, but it's shocking how much of society floods us constantly with messages encouraging us to focus on what we lack in order to be sold certain products or a certain way of life. The book comes with a code for an online assessment that identifies your top 5 strengths. You'll receive extra discovery and action plan guides. They're really good. And based on your results, they'll help you to move forward and interpret this new data. It also gives explanations of all 34 characteristics, along with real-world examples. In addition, it gives you insights into how to identify and work with others who have each specific strength characteristic. This is helpful because there are 33 million combinations of the top 5 themes. The book helps you to reframe where you were thinking from "you can be or do anything you want to if you just try hard enough," to a much more realistic mantra of you cannot necessarily be anything you want to be, but you can be a lot more of who you already are. I love the practicality of this concept. Of course, it's okay to have dreams, and you should pursue them. But does it make sense, practical sense, to exert all your energy and time pursuing something that is not in line with your base? It's in line with your weaknesses. Or is it better to exert and harness your strengths and then adjust and retarget to reach your goals? It's very empowering, especially for anyone that might have thought about or be thinking about making a change in their personal or professional life. If you are locked into a 9-to-5 job, it's very likely that you are not able to use your strengths at work as constantly and consistently as you would like, and you may feel unfulfilled. Even as a freelancer or creative entrepreneur, you might have picked an endeavor that differs from your strengths. Or you're in a profession that you enjoy, but you're not utilizing your strengths to the maximum capabilities. The good news is, while people's personalities, wants, and desires can change over time, studies show that a person's personality traits and interests are relatively stable all the way up through adulthood. So in other words, if your inherent strengths stick with you for life, then why wouldn't you invest the time to map them out and harness them to the fullest possible extent? Here's an equation. Talent, which is a natural way of thinking, feeling, or behaving, plus investment, which is time spent practicing, developing your skills, and building your knowledge base, equals strength, the ability to consistently provide perfect performance. The other obvious advantage is that by identifying and harnessing your strengths, you will by default identify your weaknesses. This will also allow you to create systems in place to manage your weaknesses, keep you on track, and possibly even spend time increasing proficiency to reduce a specific weakness. Here's another great thing to consider. After you've done a full assessment, think about seeking out strategic partnerships that balance your weaknesses and your personality traits, and vice versa. Many of the most successful businesses are collaborations or partnerships for this very reason. If you manage a team, why wouldn't you have everyone take these assessments so you can have an understanding of everyone's strengths and their challenges and arrange them together to collaborate in groups that will enhance not only the productivity of their work, but the enjoyment of the work experience in your organization? Okay, so the takeaway today. If you are in sales, and believe me, if you are self-employed, any type of entrepreneur or a creative, you are in sales every day, all day. So how helpful do you think it would be to be able to get a sense of your clients, to get a sense of their strengths and their personality traits when you're trying to get them to commit to your product or service? Remember, your key strengths largely affect the lens in which you view and prioritize the world. What about a networking event or a marketing presentation? Wouldn't getting a sense of the strengths or personality types of the people or persons you are speaking to affect how you choose to communicate them? Well, that's it for now. I hope I gave you some things to think about. Knowledge is power, but I'd go even further to say that knowledge of this type is enlightenment. The NBTI and the Strength Finder 2.0 are two amazing resources for you to use in your journey of self-discovery and refinement. I hope this has been helpful and inspiring. Remember, since a rising tide lifts all boats and community is better than competition, all of this, any of the work that we do on ourselves individually, will benefit our group collectively. See you next time.